Hello everyone, and welcome to my first 3D games devlog. Today I am going to give you a first overview of what the project is and what I plan to do when making this project. The idea I have is it's a procedurally generated dungeon that you will run through. It will have a dice roll mechanic, so when you start up a dungeon, you'll roll a bunch of die at the same time, and they will garner what your stats are and what your weapon is. You roll it, you go into the dungeon, and you run through the dungeon based on what your stats are. So every run is completely random. It's a weird mechanic, but I just thought I'd try something different. It's a simple low poly style because, well, my skills are mostly in pixel art, and this is a completely different ballpark for myself. But the UI I'm designing in a pixel aesthetic still. As you can see in the background here, I have a few prototype versions of the dungeon generating, and also further in you'll see a not fully finished, but something close to like what I want for the dungeon later on. And I have one weapon in at the moment. The animations aren't perfect, but as you can see, here's the idea at hand. I've designed my UI first. My UI is based off of having a health system with a shield system. So the health will be randomly rolled, but you'll be able to purchase upgrades based on shield, which is like a resistance before your health starts taking down. This will allow you to garner a bit of control of your run, so you don't end up at one health and be able to be one-shotted or anything like that. I have this temporary open world. It's just something small while I'm testing in Unreal, as I have never dabbled really with the engine before. Coming from Godot, it's completely different. And so far I'm enjoying it. I just need to get used to what I'm doing, basically. So, I have created the main character, a couple of small animations, and I've added a sprinting mechanic that also changes your field of view based on if you're sprinting or not. When it comes to the dice roll mechanic, I'm still designing it, but you'll see in the background here, I'm going to just show you how I want it structured. So the idea will be you're going to jump into the cave, and before you load in, you're going to open a screen where you'll just click roll. It'll roll 5 die. It depends on how many stats I have that change. And it'll roll each and every one of them, and it'll tell you what stat is in each slot. So you could have, let's say, we have a six-sided die, and we have 1 to 6 for health, stamina, movement speed, strength. So just a few different stats that can be altered based on what they get. Now, I will have a system in place to avoid getting all ones. Not certain if I want to have that. I am considering a mechanic where you can purchase different die. So you can start off with a D1 to 4, and then you can upgrade it to a D6, and then you can get all the way up to a D20. That way there's some sort of progression in the game. I will be including a scoreboard. I haven't really designed anything around it, but I want it to be based on how many floors you go down in the dungeon, the more difficult it gets. One of the catches is I want to have an extraction mechanic to it. So when you go into the dungeon, you're going to travel around. Now, I'm not too sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm considering making it where you can drop a set amount of torches or some item that you can drop on the ground to like trace your path as you're traveling. You won't start off with too many of them at the start of the game, but what will happen is you can travel as far through the dungeon, but if you get lost, it's going to be more of a struggle to actually extract from it. But I want you to have to extract to the floor above you to escape, and in return that keeps your score and keeps everything along with you. Now, if you end up dying in the dungeon, it will half your score or half what you were going to earn. So it's not going to be a complete punishing mechanic, but it encourages learning the way you're going. So it's going to take skill. Basically, I want it to be a random run, but more random than a random run. Plus, being required to backtrack just one floor means you also have to have the ability to learn where you're going. You want to keep track of that while you're running around. What I would like to know is if you have any suggestions, to leave them down in the comments, and make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date. I just would really appreciate any help, any ideas off of the community, because this project, while it being my first 3D one, I'm still not well versed, where I could be missing a thing or two that one of yous might actually know would suit better. Maybe there's a better way to go down the mechanics I'm thinking of, or just something instead, but do let me know. I want to have 3 weapons. I want to have just your average sword, your average bow, and your average mage staff, or something along those lines. At least 3 floors, and each floor to have 3 different enemies on them. Basically, the idea would be I make three enemies, and based on what floor you're on, those enemies have altered mechanics. Now, this isn't set in stone or anything, but that's the idea we're going. We're going for a bit of a low poly fantasy. I'm not too sure what style, if I'm gonna go more humanoid or more grotesque for the creatures. Currently working on a mood board for the game before I actually go ahead and design more. When it comes to why this video took so long for me to make, it is because, well, I got distracted playing Project Zomboid. The game's unreal, and I have put way more hours than I should have into it instead of working on my project. Get too distracted with Project Zomboid. Now, I'll still be playing and you'll see gameplay in the background here and there, but the project's back underway and I'm staying focused. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure to keep up to date, and I'll also be doing videos keeping you up to date on the Backrooms project as well while I'm at it. But yeah, that's all again for this video, and thank you so much for watching.